So I'm just thinking about how long it took me to actually take this episode. Like, it's taken me 3 weeks just for me to get this episode together, guys. Like, yo, I don't know if you've seen the contents of the episode, but this is serious stuff. Yo. So this is the story. This is like the background behind it, all right? So this is like me 3 weeks ago. And by 3 weeks ago, I tell you, literally a month ago, I was ready, to record this podcast. I was down for it, I was the go. I was like, yes, I'm doing this. And so I was there, recording it. I did it like 1 take, 2 takes. And then, the third one, I was like, appa number. Yeah, like, appa, it's good, it's set. And then, as I was ready to, send it to my guy, the guy who normally, in production, there's always a guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. So to everybody who's a content creator, model, whatever, every content creator, my influence, yeah. So there's my guy who's normally, he has my back when it comes to production and just everything to do with, just making the podcast be what it's supposed to be in terms of editing and the like. Yes. So I was ready to send it to him, and I told him about it. I'm like, oh, this is what it is, and we had a discussion, and I let him hear it. So apparently at the same time in the room, my roommate's friend, who apparently is a guy, came through. So I didn't tell him there and then that, this is what's going on. This is my podcast, but we just listened to it and we let it flow as a topic. But this is then what happened. My whole perception changed. And this is one thing that I heard from myself, from the spirit. Okay. I just felt it so strong in my spirit and say, you are not ready to record this episode because you've not done your homework. You've not done your research. You understand what I mean? When you're ready to do something and then you realize that you're actually not as ready as you thought you were. You know what I mean? For example, if you're in events and you're like, no, I'm ready to host this gig, or I'm ready to play that game. I'm ready, and then when you don't get the part, when you have that expectation, disappointed. There are times where I've had an expectation disappointed, and I was actually relieved and be like, I'm actually happy that I didn't get to do this because I actually wasn't ready for this, so yes, it's like the other day I was invited. I was privileged last weekend to attend the Copper Book Awards, and it was really, really, really amazing. I was privileged to. Okay, at first I was supposed to give the opening remarks. Yes, I was supposed to open the show in short, like officiate the show, and at the same time I was supposed to do a piece, like a poetry piece and whatever. And yeah, so when I reached really late. I was so late. I had to run some errands, so I couldn't get there early. So I had 2 events. Actually, there was a conference at my church as well. So this is me now rushing over to the event. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so late, But I was expecting to do a piece. I wrote a piece that day. I do poetry, so I wrote a poetry piece that day, and I was pumped up. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to do this. If the event has not started, I'm ready to do these open remarks. And when I was there, I reached really late, and I saw whatever was going on. I was like, wow, of course it wasn't what I expected. I wanted to give the opening remarks because that's what I was told that I'm going to do, right? So I'm there like, yo, I really, really wanted to do the opening remarks, but I am glad that I didn't get to do those opening remarks. I was actually happy that I didn't get to do a poetry piece. Why? Because sometimes you need to do the little. You need to do the little. Sometimes you need to appreciate the unappreciated. I don't know if you get what I mean. I was just presenting the nominees for Best Girl and Woman Book Award, right? And that was so satisfying for me. Yeah. So yes, sometimes certain things will not go as you planned, and probably because you need to prepare. So that is what I'm talking about this episode. Like, sex toys, masturbation, and Christianity is not something that you can just wake up and say, oh, I want to talk about it. Yeah, let's go into it. No. You need to prepare, and this is something that not only just physically, not only just content wise, you just don't pick things up from Google and say, oh, this is what I'm going to talk about. No, you need to pray about these things, because if you're going to talk about Christianity, if you're going to talk about God, your content has to be right. Not only that, your spirit has to be right. And for me, I think God had to deal with a lot of things in these 3 weeks when it came to me. Like, before you talk about something to my people, because you are his people, you are his children, we're all his children, you are a child of God. And before I say something to you, who is my family, wherever you're listening to, you're my family, you're my brother, you're my sister. And I wouldn't want to say something that's according to me, like, oh yeah, according to me, because in the previous episode that I recorded, a good 51 minutes, guys, a good 1 hour, I said a lot of things that were just according to me, if it were me, and so yes, so let's jump right into the episode, guys. Sex toys, masturbation, and Christianity. Oh my Jesus. Okay, so today we're gonna take care of business. So if you're underage, well, I don't know if it's okay for you to be here, but hey, 13 plus, all right, 13 plus, that's okay. Yes, because hey, masturbation is something that happens. I started masturbating at age 6, so anyway, we're gonna listen to that later on in the episode, right? Because that is what Unspoken is about. It's about me giving pieces of myself to you, right? Yes. So today we're going to take care of business as real adults that we are and as the believers that we are, not as the Christians, no, as the believers that we are. We're going to take care of some unspoken things. So first things first, okay, I'm going to just share the scriptures that I'm going to be talking from, and Hebrews 13 is one of them. Hebrews 13 is more focused on marriage. I'm going to read that later. And I have Galatians 5, all right? So that is, it talks about, the sinful nature. Right, so what is evident? What is the actual thing? All right, today we're calling a spade a spade. Okay, so sex in here is not just sex, it's fornication. So if it's fornication, we're calling it fornication. We're not calling it making love or having sex. No. So long as we're in the bracket of below marriage, we're not married, guys, and we're having sex, we are all fornicators. So that is just one thing that I like to bring out as well on my podcast. I just really like to call a spade, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And the worst thing I'm going to do is sugarcoat sin. I'm not going to do that. All right, so the third scripture I'm going to read from is Romans 13. Yeah, so today I'm also going to read gain the context. From what scripture context are you picking up from? So Romans 13 is more of self-control. I'm going to read the scriptures later on, and 1 Peter 3, which is going to be our last scripture, which will be respect and honor. Yes, so that these are just, I've read the scriptures and I've studied them, and this is just paraphrase titles that I could pick up from them. All right, so let's jump right into it. Masturbation. Okay, so this is sex toys, masturbation, and Christianity, but I'm going to start with masturbation. So what is masturbation? And from what I can pick up from my own experience is masturbation is it's a self-gratification, self-pleasure sexually. Yes, so this is a person giving themselves a sexual pleasure in terms of sexually. Basically, I think that's what it is. It's self-gratification sexually. So you give yourself 2 seconds, 6 seconds, or a minute of pleasure, a minute of climax, a minute of feeling nice, orgasm, just for that few temporal. It's a temporal ecstasy. I think I would love to call it ecstasy, because when you're in that moment of orgasm during masturbation, bro, there is really nothing that you can tell me. You know what I mean? There's nothing you're gonna tell me, no, masturbation is bad. In that moment, you're not gonna tell me it's bad. And this is the other thing, right? In masturbation, you will not tell me that masturbation is bad before I actually masturbate, when I'm about to masturbate. You know what I mean? You're not gonna tell me, oh no, masturbation is bad, and I'm gonna listen yeah, masturbation is bad. No, the only time you can tell me that is after I released, after I've climaxed, after I've gotten that, satisfaction, that orgasm, and I'm like, oh my gosh, masturbation is bad. Well, if you can't relate, then I'd rather you don't even relate at all. But yes, if you relate, this is the right place. So what is masturbation? I think that is the basic definition that I give masturbation. I'm not grabbing anything from Google or whatever, but that's how I'm going to define masturbation. Before we go into the whole thing about what, the whole process of my life when it comes to masturbation, my whole experience with masturbation, we're going to just go and define what sex toys are. And I think, from the definition of what masturbation is, I think that's just what we're going to name sex toys, right? But then we're going to call sex toys tools, because that's what they are. They're tools that you use to give yourself some pleasure. So already we're going back to self-gratification already, right? It's just something you use to self-gratify, something you use to climax, something you use to enhance, okay? Something you use to enhance sexual desire, sexual arousal, sexual pleasure, or just, to satisfy yourself sexually, right? Okay, so basically that is what I feel like a lecturer. I feel like a lecturer giving a lecture right now. Yeah, anyway. So anyway, those are just by okay, the reason as to why I'm giving, definitions, because I just love to break down things so that we understand what we're saying, right? Yeah. So that is basically what sex toys is, right? And we already know what Christianity is. We are Jesus followers, Jesus believers, and we believe in the Trinity as well. So that is just a basic breakdown of the topic of what we're talking about. So I'm just gonna go real with you guys. Earlier this year, or just years before, I'm gonna give you a confession. In fact, confession time. Let's go. Confession time. If you are listening, you have a pen and a paper, I just want you to write a confession right now about sex toys or masturbation. Like, what is that confession that you have deep down your heart? So me, I'm going to give mine right here, right now. I'm not really ashamed to say that I'm an ex-masturbator, or rather I'm a masturbator. I'm not gonna be shy about that, because this is something that became a part of me, and this is something that I had to learn not to do. So I'm really not ashamed to talk about masturbation. You can ask me anywhere. Yes, I'm gonna tell you head on about it, and if you want to overcome it, I'm gonna tell you head on about it. All right. But the thing about sex toys, yeah. So this is where my confession is. For years now, I think I've always been a person who's always been curious about sex, but I'm not gonna talk about going to those details as to why I've been curious about sex. I've been an individual who's curious and always hated sex until just earlier this year. Yes, I don't hate sex anymore. But we're not going to go into those details as to why don't you hate sex. No, not now. In another topic. Yes, in another episode we'll talk about it, right? Yeah. So but what we're going to talk about today is what my confession is. And my confession is, guys, I have been so curious about sex toys. Like, I don't know about you, but the reason as to why I made this a Christian thing, like put Christianity at the end of it, is because of how many believers in the church today want to pretend like these things don't exist. It's like, oh my God, Christians don't think about sex toys. Newsflash, no, they actually do. You know what I mean? We just tend not to talk about it. And so I'm here talking about it. Say, look, earlier this year, I've been just curious, like, what does a vibrator feel like? You know what I mean? These are just my curiosities. I've never really fancied a dildo. Okay, in case you don't know what sex toys, I think I've said these are machines. You know what I mean? These are things that it's like an AI. They just imitate what a human is, like human parts. So if it's feet, they create feet. If it's human private part, be it a male private part, be it a female. Now they're making female private parts where men can just indulge in that and just satisfy themselves. And now we also have the male parts that the LGBT community, which is the trans, okay, not the trans, but the lesbians. Mostly it's the lesbians who normally buy the dildos and whatever. So dildo is just like a male private part, you know what I mean? So that's what a dildo is. Yeah, a male private part. So they get all these things and they put they try to be man through dildos. But then I'm not going to get into the LGBT topic, but I want to come to that topic later on. I want us to talk about the LGBT I want us to talk about homosexuality because I have been that before. I was a homosexual for 5 good years, yeah, but I'm not going to talk about that, not in this episode. But right now we're talking about my confession, which has been, of course, I've been so curious about vibrators. Like, I think this is ever since I watched 50 Shades of Grey. Not that in 50 Shades of Grey there was a vibrator, and then we go back to what we feed our minds with. Very important, guys, very important. If we cannot control what we put in our minds and what we're watching, it's going to put a lot of implications on us, especially if you're taking your Christian life very seriously and you'd want to take your Christian walk with God very seriously. Your relationship, when you take it to the next level, you have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. It's very difficult. Feel to damn if you must with Shades of Grey. So for me, that's where my curiosity stemmed. What does it feel like, to have a vibrator? You know what I mean? But then anyway, I knew vibrator from pornography. So yeah, bringing us back now to porn. Okay, so like I said, I'm just talking about my experience with masturbation. So masturbation moves hand in hand with porn. I never get those people that say, no, I've never watched porn in my life, but then I masturbate. Like, excuse me. There's no such a thing. Ask me, okay? I think I've been in the game for a long time. So taking you back, long story short, I started watching porn when I was at the age of 6, all right? And this is not something I've shared with my family or my mom. Like, I was not about to go like, oh mom, listen, I started watching porn at age 6 and I was just a baby. No, I'm not about to do that. Maybe late. Well, it would be so nice if she comes across this episode. Hi mom, you know what I mean? I'll think, yeah, be like, yo, you know what I mean? But I'm not confident, or you could say I'm shy, to express myself and talk about these things. I'm not like, other people or you, if you probably have good relationship with like your mom, that open kind of, what's up, babe kind of relationship with your mom. I really don't have that kind of relationship. So we haven't yet reached certain topics. Yeah. So issues of masturbation, if you're pornography, but I'm hoping over the years we can reach over those things, and when she gets to read my books or listen to my podcast, it'll just be like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Yeah. So my experience with pornography and masturbation started from age 6. This is 2006. I was 6 years old. So yes, I was born in 2000, of course. So at age 6, 2006, I watched my first porn and I did my first masturbation. And I think the reason as to why for me, okay, unlike some of you, but for me, it stems from sexual abuse at a very, very tender age. So I think my hormonal imbalance was already aroused. So you can see my private parts rather had already been contaminated, if you could say that. So you could say contaminated or corrupt. So already they knew what to feel. They already stimulus or stimuli, I have no idea, but yes, I could feel. So yeah, I think for me, my masturbation and pornography stemmed from my sexual abuse at a very tender age. So that's why I started watching porn and started masturbating earlier, because I sort of got used to that feeling and wanted to feel that feeling over and over again. It's the effect that comes with sexual abuse. I'm not going to talk about that right now in this episode, but I can talk about that some other time, where I get to talk about the effects of sexual abuse, and that's one of them: masturbation and pornography. And for me, that was the route that sexual abuse took me to. I experienced it starting from age 3. Yes, 9. Yeah, long story. But anyway, yeah, I'm not talking about that. So I started my journey of pornography and masturbation from the age 6, right? And till age 21, yes, I sort of gave up the thing of masturbating at age 21. And by the way, I'm 23. So you can imagine it's been 3 years, huh? It's been 3 years. But I'm not going to say that those 3 years has been easy. I gave up pornography at 17 years old. I stopped watching porn at 17, but I didn't stop masturbating, right? Because I had watched porn from the age from 6 years old to 17 years old. I was watching porn. So 17, I was in my first year of university. I gave my life to God in 2017. I was 17. So you can imagine that journey of where I actually gave my life to Christ. Then, I had to give up the whole homosexual thing. That was in 2018. I was 18. So even when so you can see this process, even when I gave my life to God in 2017, I hadn't yet given up my homosexual urges and whatever. There was still there. There was still there. 2019, there was still there. But then I completely had to walk away from it in 2018. So yeah, I wasn't masturbating for a very long time. But yeah, I stopped porn. I can safely say I stopped porn very, very at 17 years old, and I can say I'm clean. You know what I mean? I'm clean of my pornography now. I'm not even tempted. Probably, sometimes a page would come and there are just those days where just like kalinka kutwala fake redirect, and then you remain on a page for like 5 minutes, and then that's the thing about pornography. Let me just share one thing about pornography. If you do not immediately move away from the page, you will stay on it and you will not move away. And pornography will definitely just lead you into masturbating at the end of the day. I don't know how it works for you guys, but for me, this is how it actually worked. I watch the porn, then I masturbate. Yeah, but I wasn't, my kind of masturbating, I don't know, I just feel like I should just say this. My kind of masturbating was really not then okay, wow, this sounds so explicit, but yeah, I really wasn't very experimental. I'm not an experimental person when it comes to even just, being active or whatever. I'm not one who would be like, oh, let's have sex by the balcony. No, I'm gonna be like, yo, first of all, people are gonna watch. I'm not one who'll be like, oh, let's go have sex on a golf course. I'm like, no. So that's what I mean. I'm not one to try out things or try out new things. So even the whole thing of dildos or putting things inside my private parts, that was really not what I would do. So I'll just normally stay onto just feeling myself. I don't know if you get what I mean. I'm not gonna go into those details. But probably just the clit. Yeah, if we don't know what the clit is, then I'm not really I want to beat time today. I want to beat time. I don't want to go into those details, but I am very, very, so I hope you understand where the masturbation story comes in, right? So that is just basically my experience with masturbation, and I just wanted to give you a brief background. So let's go back to my fantasy earlier this year of how I've always fantasized on sex toys. Like, what is it like? I'm not an experimental person, but I'm like, what is it like? What does a vibrator feel like? What is it like? So I normally have these thoughts, but then like I said, where are these thoughts coming from? The movies I'm watching, the books I'm reading, and worse off, the books we read, because these books are very, very descriptive, and then they'll tell it did this, and then it felt like this, and then you imagine a lot of things, and most of the time I'm just like, I want to feel what a vibrator is like. I want to know what it's like, and I'm there like, I have to buy one. And that was me earlier this year. I was like, I'm gonna get myself a vibrator. I don't care this. I really wasn't thinking about anything spiritual. I was just like, you know what? I don't think it's wrong. You know what I mean? But hey, we are going deeper into this. Okay. So that is basically what it is. I've talked about my masturbation experience. I've talked about my fantasies earlier this year. And now I'm going to go to the point of where you are celibate. Let's say that you're celibate. Okay, you're celibate and you're on a celibacy journey. This is for the people that are on celibacy journey, the aftermath of a celibacy journey. What now? Right? Okay, so we're going to deduce. All right, we're going to deduce, is masturbation a sin? Is having sex toys a sin? So we've talked about masturbation and we've talked about my story and my journey. So I'm pretty sure maybe we're going to ask the question, say, Chrisley, why did you give up masturbation? Why did you have to give up pornography? Why do you strongly feel that masturbation is wrong? It's not written somewhere in the Bible that it's wrong. And to be very honest with you, these things are not written in the Bible that they are wrong. There's nowhere where there's masturbation. Bible to masturbation, therefore have a masturbation. You know what I mean? It's been a while, ever since I was young, I used to read a lot of books like, where is masturbation? Because me, I just masturbate, you know what I mean? Masturbation was what I ate, and masturbation was what I slept. I slept, I drank it, I ate it. It was all I did when I was young. You know what I mean? Because I really had nothing to do when I'm in my sheets alone with a phone. You know what I mean? So this is just something that I just want to point out to say it's not written, yes, in the Bible that it is wrong. It is not written that, yes, it is a sin. However, it is the aftermath. How do you feel when you masturbate? I think I'm going to ask you that. So how you feel after you masturbate will tell you whether what you're doing is wrong or right. Period. And it's over time that when you continuously do it and you don't feel anymore, you don't feel anymore that what you're doing is wrong, then you know what you're doing is an addiction. So I'm going to bring out the point that the Bible mentions, all right? God has created us with his spirit. So originally, human beings, we, all right, have a desire to do right and be right before God. Also, he's created us with the flesh, which by all means always wants to go against him. So it's like a two-way thing. God is very complicated. Sometimes I ask him, so okay, let's do this. So you create me with a spirit that loves you and wants to do right by you. And then you create me with a body that wants to go against all you have ever said in the word. What are you telling me? But anyway, that is God. We can never figure him out, right? All we have to do, or all we can do as human beings, or his kids, or his children, is actually try to do what his word says. So we already know in the word, okay, that we have a spirit in us. That same conscious mind, that's our conscious yalinje, but something told me, that something that told you is the spirit that is in you. That breath that he breathed into you is telling you to say, yo, and we're all gifted with the promise, which is our Holy Spirit, right? So he says, yo, I don't know if you relate, but I hate the aftermath of masturbation. Yo, I hate it so much. It's that thing of after you drink, or you've had a night out, you've had a wild night, and then you wake up okay, let's not even go far. Sex. Honestly, deep down, as you're listening, be a girl, be a guy, how do you feel after sex? You just wake up in the morning. How do you feel? That's what I want you to think about. How do you feel just after sex? That feeling you have, that feeling of regret, that feeling of filthiness, you just feel dirty, you just feel like you just want to bath, you just feel like you want to pee, you just feel like you want to scrub yourself. For others, you cry. That feeling is the spirit in you telling you that what you're from doing is wrong. Okay, so same goes with masturbation. That feeling of guilt, dirt, regret. You just feel bad, you feel disgusted, you just feel like, what am I from doing? That feeling is telling you that what you're doing is wrong. But then there's that thing of, but you end up doing it again. Yes, the truth is we always go back. And I always wonder. But then we go back to what Paul says in the word. And he says, look, my body and my spirit are constantly at war. What my flesh wants to do, my spirit does not want. But what my spirit wants to do, my flesh does not want. It's a constant war. Who are you going to listen to at the end of the day? It's that battle. And it's what we choose at the end of the day, the aftermath, that makes what we do right or wrong. So I hope I've answered your question. It's not a definite yes, and no, is it a definite no? Not bakaba. But anyway, so in case you're saying, I masturbate. I'm a masturbator. I've been a masturbator for some time. What do I do? I have this addiction. All right. So provided that masturbation has turned into an addiction, or let's say masturbation is not an addiction, but you just like to do it from time to time, there's that guy excuse. Excuse. No, it's not much. I know this is something that, the mind always says like, no, it will just last a bit. And then you finish. Okay. But it's that moment, that temporal moment of ecstasy, that temporal moment of feeling nice. 2-3 minutes, it's gone. Now that feeling you feel afterwards, that's what will last a lifetime. And that's what God is just saying, look, it's not worth it. Or is it worth it? All right. So in case you're in that category and you're saying, what do I do? So number one, I'm just going to be real and honest with you. I'm not going to say, no, go see a papa, see your mentor. You can always talk to a mentor about it and say, this is what I'm going through. But then I've gone through that thing where, I talk to people that are higher than me in the faith. They've gone, far ahead of me in the faith. And I ask them, I say, I've got this addiction. How do I, what do I do? And, one thing I've come to realize is that people can only do so much. And the best thing that someone can do for you is pray for you. And for me, I'm really glad. And God bless the people that have prayed for me over the years. Those silent prayers, those prayers that, no one ever says, Chrisley, I'm praying for you, but then they're praying for you, is what has really just brought me to this point to even talk about masturbation in this way that I'm seeing it, because no one can change you from not masturbating. No one can change you from not having that addiction, be it smoking, be it sex, be it drinking. No one can stop you from doing it, only you. So now, this is in line of any other addiction you may be facing. What do you do about that addiction? And here we're talking specifically masturbation, right? And any other addiction. So number one, seek God for yourself in the matter. It's just like Uzaka Faweka. It's just like you die alone. You were born alone and you would die alone. At the end of the day, yes, community is very important. At the end of the day, yes, you need friends, you've got family. But at the end of the day, on that day, when it is all said and done and you have to be answerable and accountable to him who sits on the throne, you'll be alone. Let's not even sugarcoat matters. Hell is real, heaven is real. I think it's high time we stop lying to each other. No grace. Yeah, there's grace. Utilize it for now, but a day is coming when grace won't even be there. So you have to seek the matter for yourself. And I'm also telling myself, seek God on the matter. You're having an addiction, you're having masturbation issues. Seek God. For me, I like to utilize, I'm very real when it comes to conversations with God. To be honest, there are days where I'm like, God, look, your girl, she's horny. Your girl, she's horny. I am so horny. And I don't know what to do with this horniness because I just don't want to go back into my bad habits. Help me. I don't know, but help me because I have my phone. I have bundles. Even if I don't have, I'll buy bundles and I'll go to those sites. They're there. They were not wrapped off. They're there. Please help me. Help me. Help me. And you'll be so shocked. In a moment, a certain a preacher will come to your mind, a certain distraction will just come to your mind, and you won't even know how you'll be distracted. Probably just be like, listen to a sermon, or play this song, or just something. Like, you'll be so distracted you won't even remember that you wanted to masturbate. But there were those days where you want to masturbate deliberately, like intentionally, like you just want to, you're like, I know it's been a while. There are days like that. Yeah, there are those days I just get like, but okay, it's been a while. 2 months, 2 years, nothing. It's been a while, and you want to bring yourself back to that. You want to bring yourself back to that scene. Don't fall for that. That's what it does. I think it's the same thing for the people that are sober. I'm not sober yet, but I think it's the same thing about the people that are sober. Like I watched a certain documentary or rather a movie documentary, whichever. And there's normally this thing that comes after you've maybe, let's say you've been successful for 3 years, you've been sober. There's always this voice fake. But it's been a while since you drank. I mean, you've been sober for 3 years. Come on, just one drink. That's what normally happens when you're overcoming addiction. Yeah. So for me, I normally faced those things like, okay, Chris, it's been 2 years. Not even masturbation if you're capone. That's mutambe of it. Just at what's that word that my thought brings? My mind has this thing that it just brings. I don't know if it's the devil, but just be like, maybe check, maybe the porn sites have disappeared, or see what's changed, something like that. So ironic, so evil, so bad. Don't fall for those things, guys. Those things are very bad. Like, don't listen to your mind when it is that unstable. So when you realize that you're that unstable and your mind is trying to bring all this negativity and tell you, it's been a while since you touched yourself, it's been a while since you masturbated, it's been a while since you watched something very erotic, I think those are the times that you get to connect again with your spiritual self and ask yourself to say, what have I been watching? What have I been listening to? And what have I been reading? All right. Okay, so what do I do? Number one, I've already given you, seek God for yourself in the matter. And number two, be careful not to underestimate the power of media. Now, do not underestimate, I think I've already talked about this point, but do not underestimate the power of your mind. Very important. This thing that they say that it actually creates a link. Today, you watch something erotic. Tomorrow, you read something erotic. The next day, it will create this link that before you know it, it would turn into actions. So for me, I would say my experience with this is I have come to learn that I have ka system ka kushtafi underestimate the power of my mind. So I'll give an example. When you're overcoming an addiction, it is very important that you do not underestimate the power of the negative. I don't know if you get what I mean. Like, just because you've been sober for 5 years doesn't mean you can't fall. Or just because you've been celibate for 5 years doesn't mean you are strong enough to handle sexual temptation. Or just because you have not masturbated, like me, you've not masturbated for a long time, porn for a long time, then you think you're the stars, thinking you're the ones who've made it. No. Trust me, it can take a day just to destroy all that you've built, and all your hard work and effort will just go into the what? Into the drain. So yeah, so that is number two. Do not underestimate the power. So keep at it. I'll share about in a few minutes. I'm going to share with you how I manage that. Yes. So number three is what is God saying about sex toys? So we're going to now phase two. This is now phase two of the episode, and it's now sex toys. So now we're just talking sex toys. So number two is, guys, sex toys should not even be in the equation. No, let me say that again. Sex toys should not even be a question. Ngandiwe mwana wa mulungu. Why do I say this? I say this because, yes, sex toys are good, I presume. Okay? I presume they are good. All right? They do the work. Oh, I'm sure they do the work because I imagine that from time to time. But I'm not supposed to entertain such thoughts, right? Right. So, and those thoughts came in because why? I was watching a certain movie that made me imagine and fantasize about what a vibrator feels like. I mean, so now, sex toys should not even be in the question if you're a child of God or if you're a Christian. But I'm not saying that it shouldn't be talked about, because then we rule out everyone else who may be struggling with sex toys. So probably you listen to this podcast and you are actually struggling with actual sex toys. You know what I mean? Like probably you have an addiction and that's all you use. You know what I mean? I'm not ruling out the fact that, you know, there's believers and there's Christians that are probably using sex toys, and probably they just don't know, or probably they know that it's wrong and they just don't know how to stop. You understand what I mean? Or probably they genuinely just don't think that it's wrong. So I want to bring out my point as to why sex toys is not even advisable for a child of God or for just anybody, so long as you're a human being. It's not, and it shouldn't even be encouraged. Why do I say this? It's because, number one, replacement. It's like you're sort of replacing that natural, biological, human part that God originally destined for us in Genesis. You understand what I mean? So already you are replacing that human, that male genital or that male private part with a dildo. What are you telling God? What are you telling the God that actually created a penis? He created it for you. What are you telling him by using that dildo? Have you thought about it? Or that vibrator, which is so satisfying. Oh my God, I can imagine. But then it's so satisfying that you don't need a man. And that is what these agendas are pushing. That is why we should be careful with the things we're actually accepting in our lives. The things we're accepting in our society. Feminism. I'm not going to say that feminism in all entirety is bad. But then what it's been manipulated to is bad. Okay, so this thing of sex toys, female shanshani, it's just another agenda. All right. Originally, it was made for the LGBT community because, you know, the studs of the relationships wanted to, you know, they satisfy their partners, so they made fake penises. But then now it's become a thing. Married women are having these things in their homes. People who are dating are having these things in their homes. And, you know, I for one has been one person who hasn't had a problem with sex toys, because I've always, I've always wanted to thought about, like, I wouldn't mind having a vibrator from time to time, you know what I mean, here and there, where I just want to be exciting with my husband or exciting with my boyfriend or my husband, and we just want to explore. But then, you know, I had a conversation with two wise men, and it just changed my whole perspective. And I had to pray about it. And I had to say, God, what am I educating people about? What am I telling people? In my previous episode, you should have heard that rubbish I was saying. But now I've thought about it and I'm like, we're sort of replacing the original order that God has destined for us. Think about it. Number two is challenging or competing. It becomes a competition. It's where now more men are now watching more pornography. You know what I mean? More men are now watching pornography because now they just want to a competition. That's why you see men are drinking. Women, I think the reason as to why many young men today are using Vama Power, Vama Congo Dust is because of the pressure. You know, the whole comparisons of a big penis, a small penis, that whole thing. No, you know, this, that. That's why men now today are drinking Congo Dust, drinking, you know, Power, this, that. No, I want to perform. It becomes a whole performance in bed. A whole performance. Husbands now are being pressured. They're being pressured because now you find your wife. As a woman, you're not satisfied anymore by your husband because you're probably, you know, he's not reaching the level of that vibrator. It becomes a competition. You know, I never had a problem a month ago having a vibrator in my marital home and be like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't. So there are days where I would just want to have a vibrator, you know, for myself. But then I had to take time with this topic because it's so sensitive. At the same time, it's not a simple topic. And And I had to allow wisdom to flow into my mind. And I'm here like, that would be really detrimental to my marriage, because I would be expecting my husband to be at the same level of the vibrator. To power, to shani, konyagi, such things. You know what I mean? No, we don't need that. We don't need that. I'm gonna say it for the fourth time. We don't need that. Okay, so that is why sex toys are bad. It's because they're sort of replacing, is challenging and bringing some form of competition, where a man is competing with this dildo, a man is competing with this vibrator, a man is competing with this, or a woman is also competing if they are female fake genitals. It just becomes, it's sort of taking away the need for human intimacy. And this is the agenda that the world is trying to bring in. The whole AI system. That's what it is. Falling in love with machines. Taking away the need for human intimacy. For family. We've seen women marrying women, and now we're not going to be having children. Men are marrying men because now we're not going to have children anymore. Because there's that human intimacy is being taken away slowly from us. Marriages are breaking every single day, and this breaks my heart so much. So there's the whole aspect as well of what is sex meant for, genuinely. Okay, what is sex meant for? And we're taught this in Genesis. It is meant for two people in a marriage setup. And like I said, here I call a spade a spade. If you have been having sex outside marriage, you are a fornicator, period. Whether you had it this evening, this morning, whatever time of day, so long as you are unmarried, you are a fornicator. Okay, so we are all fornicators at the end of the day. If at all you have engaged in that kind of setup, all right, we're all fornicators, all right. It's nothing to be proud of. It's nothing, again, to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be ashamed of. At the same time, it's nothing to be proud of. So don't go around, being proud about it. Don't allow society to change your stance when it comes to these things. Especially if you're a believer, especially if you believe in Christ. But hey, if you're for the society, no problem, do you. I'm not trying to take away what it is that you believe in. But if you have godly standards, it is fornication. But then I'm talking about a setup in marriage. It's between two people who are supposed to be married. That's when it becomes purposeful. So in the book of Hebrews 13, it talks about marriage. Do not defile the matrimonial bed. And we're seeing so much defilement going on in the matrimonial bed. Men cheating on their wives, women cheating on their wives. You know what I mean? And we're also seeing all these, uncultured practices where, marriages are breaking off because a man cannot satisfy his woman in bed. Probably this woman is using a vibrator or dildos or sex toys. You know what I mean? This is how detrimental sex toys are. So in case you're asking the question now, we're at the end of this. And I just want to say my last words. All right? I just want to say my last words. Say, in case you're asking, so, okay, Chrisley, okay, fine. Chrisley, you've given us, what? You've told us, okay, sex toys are bad. You've given us the scriptures where we can read from. You've told us about masturbation, whatever. But then, Chrisley, I'm in a long distance relationship. Okay? And I get horny sometimes. I get horny sometimes. I am in a long distance relationship. How do I fend off? So I'm going to explain this. I had a conversation with my pastor, my youth pastor, all right? And this is one thing she told me, and I loved what she said. And one of the things she says that, Chrisley, the temptation is there. I'm not going to lie to you. She was very honest about the fact that she had some certain friends that are in possession of those sex toys. But does she have? She said, no, Chrisley, I don't have. But then I'm not going to lie to you that it's not easy. There are times I've thought about, yes, getting myself a dildo or getting myself a sex toy. And she's married with 2 kids. But then she's there like, Chrisley, I just have to master myself, master my body, know myself, know my cycle. My husband travels a lot. They have a long distance marriage where the husband travels from time to time. He comes back. But then she says, Chrisley, I have mastered my body. So if you're female and you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, I am in a long distance relationship and hey, I cannot stay off masturbation. I cannot stay off sex toys. And I think I'm going to keep that going even in my marriage. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can master yourself and you can master your body, just like I've chosen to master my body. All right. A month ago, I was willing to have a sex toy or a vibrator. But after a long process of just thinking about it and a long process of study, a long process of just getting in the word with God and in prayer, I have come to realize that I don't need it. I don't need a vibrator. Or else that takes away the intimate relationship that I am supposed to have with my husband. You understand what I mean? And probably you're celibate. But then there are just those days that you get horny, whatever, say, Chrisley, I'm celibate, but I get horny, or I am single and I am in my late 20s and I get horny, or I'm in my late 30s, or I'm 30, or I'm in my late 20s and I get horny. What do you expect me to do? I have a dildo, I have a vibrator. Let's not even go far. Those to my massage shan to my massage shan to you just put it onto your private part and girl, you good. But then that takes away everything. It takes away the human input. It takes away the purpose as to why God created a man. And then you don't want to have to replace what God has created. Let's think about how big God is. There's a whole biological process to that. So it's very important. If you're a woman and you're listening to this, know your cycle. I always tell God during my ovulation that God, I hate ovulation, period, because everything for me is heightened. I don't know about other females how your cycles work, but for me during my ovulation, I don't even want to be around someone I like because I am just very sensitive. I'm just horny. Let's go a speed. I'm just horny. I wouldn't want to be next to someone I like because that is bad. That is detrimental for me. During my ovulation, I don't want to watch anything sexual. So most of the times when I am ovulating, I watch Korean dramas because Korean dramas or Chinese dramas rarely have kisses, sex scenes, whatever. Yeah, so I don't expose myself to erotic novels during my ovulation. And you can imagine it's a very long period. It's like a week or 2. You know what I mean? So know your cycle. Know when you're most horny. If it's during a period, why would you want to be with your boyfriend or, you know what I mean? Or why would you want to watch porn or watch something that's gonna get you aroused? All right, so it's very important for us to know our cycles as women. Very important. I just don't know how it works with the men. I would really love to have a guy on my podcast so that he gets to explain. So I'm gonna have like a prequel. Is it a sequel? I'm gonna have a sequel to this episode. I feel like I've just said enough of what I had to say, but then I want a sequel, a continuation of this episode, but then it's going to be like mini audios or mini very exciting. Okay, so it's gonna be like mini audios of you guys, all right? And I'm saying you guys because I'm gonna be getting those audios from you people. So it's gonna be like mini audios of you guys just coming in and telling me what your thoughts on the matter, or rather the episode, are. So that is basically what it's going to be about. So don't mind the noise in the background, guys. it's very hard to find a place to record an episode these days. But yes, I have been recording outside. So yeah, where I stay. So yeah. Yes, so that is what is going to be next. I'm going to be doing a sequel to this episode, so it's going to be sex toys, masturbation, and Christianity, what the people think. Yes, so what you guys think. So that's what I'm going to call it, what you guys think. So please do come through if you've loved this episode. Yeah, if you've loved this episode, do tell me through DM or wherever you can reach me. Okay, reach me and tell me that I want to be part of the next episode because this is what I have to say. Or if you disagree with some of the things that I've said, tell me to say in the next episode, say, Chrisley, this I don't like. Yes, but bring out your point. I also want to hear from you. So that will be the sequel. So I'm giving an opportunity to everybody. If you want to be part of that episode, it's gonna be 30 minutes, and then you can even in 2 minutes. I want 2-minute audios from all of you, or 1-minute audios from all of you, just telling me a piece of your brain. I just want to pick your brain on this topic. But yes, it's gonna be so exciting. I am excited for that. But otherwise, for today, it is goodbye, and see you guys in the next episode. And I love you all.